Well guys, it's midsummer and we're in a dearth, more or less. There's a trickle of pollen coming in, but nothing as far as nectar right now. So we're going to be out here feeding our bees. We like to feed them and keep them stimulated, keep that queen just pushing forward a little bit. Used to, we didn't feed in the summer. We'd leave a decent amount of honey on them to get them by, and they just wasn't overwintering well with that strategy. So we started feeding them throughout the dearth, and it really increased our overwinter success. It doesn't have to be much. You can trickle feed them with a mason jar or however. It's just enough to keep that queen stimulated to lay and build that colony throughout the summer, and it really works. We're using a light syrup today. It's a little less than 1 to 1, and we're also going to be throwing some protein to these colonies because it's just a trickle. It's nothing much, and we're trying to, these colonies here, we're trying to build up, trying to get them good and healthy so they can overwinter. These will go through the winter in singles, but I want a big box of bees going into the winter, and that's just hard to accomplish in our area without feeding protein and carbohydrates throughout the dearth. So we wanted to bring you along, show you how we feed them. Okay guys, this is a late season split we made. It's looking pretty good. I just want to double check, make sure everything's looking good inside this colony. It looks okay from now, but you never know without, really getting into it and checking. And keep in mind, we also have to draw these foundations out, and the bees are not readily going to draw this out if they don't have some source of nectar or some form of sugar syrup to stimulate them to draw that. They just don't want to do it. And we're also going to be using our bees to draw some extra comb out, so we're going to feed them heavily to get that comb produced that we need for next year. They've got some stores in this still, some pollen, like I said, a trickle of pollen coming in. It's just not enough to sustain them. We need this box full of bees, and this one honestly we may put a drone comb of super on here, a drone medium, and feed it even more to get it through the winter. They look like they'll be able to work that other box. There's not a lot of brood. There's some eggs and larvae down in this frame, a lot of pollen, stores up here. That's what a brood frame this time of year should look like. You should have a ring of pollen and nectar or honey. This is honestly probably feed. There was a queen cell. It's probably one we missed when we made the split. I don't think they're trying to supersede this queen, but if they are, they are. They've got eggs to do it again. I would rather keep my queen that's in here. She's laying good. Yeah, if you can see this brood pattern, that is exceptional for this time of year where we're at. We're in a dearth, there's not a lot coming in, and that looks really nice. Same on this frame. There's our queen right there. She's not marked, so we're going to go ahead and mark her. She looks good. We'll get her marked and we'll be back with you in a minute. Okay guys, and like I said, we're going to feed these. It's thinner than 1 to 1 to really stimulate the queen and get these extra 4 frames drawn out. And we're just using a division board feeder. If this colony was smaller, I would pull them closer to the feeder just to make sure they can access it real easy and get what they need. Basically, that's all we do to feed these bees. We just fill this up, just like so. run it out everywhere, but that's okay. We'll wash that down with some water. We're gonna throw some pollen supplement on these bees, and we're gonna put it directly over the brood nest. And to do that, I'm just gonna lay one here. Well, I'm gonna put it here and up front, actually. There, and one here. And that's all we do, guys, to feed these colonies. He's just going to rinse that extra down just to prevent robbing. I don't think we'd have a major issue in this yard because all these colonies are about the same size. But I don't know how many other beekeepers is in the area. I don't know of any, but you never know. So there could be a yard 2 miles with 50 colonies in it that you just don't know about. So if you spill syrup, it's always a good idea to try to wash it down. Okay guys, if you look at this colony, obviously it's smaller than the one beside of it, and all of them's not going to be of equal size and strength, but she's laying, she's backfilling that with eggs. There's our queen right there. She looks good, but this colony really needs some feed to grow, and that's where the part of being a beekeeper really comes into play. In the springtime, they can do pretty good without your help. I mean, they're going to swarm if you don't take measures like that, but they're not going to starve, and the queen can outproduce the mites and things like that. But as the season progresses and the nectar flow dries up and the pollen dries up, it's really a good time for the bees to have a beekeeper, and that's where our part comes into play to help them out, help them get along. So we're going to mark this queen, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to feed this colony and give it some pollen supplement.
Okay.
Do it again. Hurry up.
3, 2.
Okay guys, so we're out at our other yard now. We're continuing the same thing. We're going to be feeding. As you can see, the apigard in these colonies hadn't run them out like the other video we showed you. It's safe to use if you do it with care. They've almost removed all their apigard out. So when the week's up, we'll come back and we'll reapply this. And we'll mash it up like the directions say. And just spread it out a little bit. Just like so. And we're going to feed these. We've done our queen right check. This box has some drone comb and foundation, so we need to get it drawn out for the winter. So like I said, we're going to use that thin sugar syrup mixture. It's a little less than 1 to 1. And we're going to feed them, and that'll help them draw that out. Just like so. He's going to throw some pollen supplement on there. And we're going to close this box up. If you notice, we put instead of putting it on top here, we put the pollen supplement right here. And what that does, it's immediate access to it. They may not would go up here because it's a lot of empty space to access that, but they'll definitely feed on it right here. There's some bees up here. They're not doing much. Like I said, there's some drone comb, but I want to keep the food right here in the brood nest. More of the same on this, guys. If you look at this pad here, the applicator pad, the thymol's completely gone, and they're trying to chew this pad up to remove it. That's exactly what you want. That lets you know they're working the product and that it should work very effectively. These colonies just need a little boost right now to help them get by and help them continue to do what they want to do anyway, which is raise bees and store food for the winter. And keep in mind, on these pollen supplement patties, we're only putting about a half a pound. We don't put any more than we think they can use in a week, and we'll come back and replace it as needed. The reason we do that is because we do have a lot of small hive beetles, and we'll get some larvae from the hive beetles in these patties, but it's not to the extent, because we keep them checked and don't put a huge amount on at one time. The bees can keep it policed pretty good. Okay guys, on this colony, it's been struggling. We've requeened it several times. We should probably just shake it out and be done, but I like a challenge. I want to see if I can get this colony through the winter just for fun. They're low on stores. The queen's trying to make it come back in here. She's got a good pattern, but they don't have enough food. I mean, this box is light. We had to put some dry sugar on it. So this liquid feed is really going to help stimulate her to do a good job. This feeder's clogged up, as you can see. We didn't get it good and clean when we, last time we had it out. So we're gonna have to wait for a minute for that to sink down. I'll go ahead and put the pollen supplement on here. Again, this is a small colony, so they don't need a whole lot. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna divide it up. I'll put one piece here and one piece on this side, just so they got it near the brood. And he's gonna wash down what syrup we spilled out. It's not going down at all on this for some reason. This feeder is really clogged, and that's a problem you run into sometimes with these feeders. You really got to get them clean. So we're going to have to wash down the front of this one. Obviously it's small. We don't want robbing to happen. This in a big yard, so we're going to let that drain down for a minute, and then we're going to come back to it and check it real good. Okay guys, same on this. They've worked that Apigard, it's gone, but it's still effective. It's still doing what it's supposed to do, so there's no need to reapply it before the week's up. I'll take a big pollen patty.
Is that big enough?
Yeah, throw it right in the middle. Same deal on this, guys. You can see they're really working that Apigard, trying to remove it from the hive, and that's exactly what you want to see. We're just going to go through here and feed these up. Get them raising some brood. There's a lot of bees down in here wet from this feed, but they'll be okay. They can climb out pretty good. It's thin syrup anyway. There won't be an issue. I'll give them a little bit of help with my hive tool. Yeah. They'll be quite all right. No issues with that. Again, we're just going to put this patty right in between these two boxes so they can access it from each part of the colony. Yeah, they've removed all their Apigard. Looking good, looking good. These colonies are looking great. Okay guys, on this colony, if you look at the feeder, you'll notice that they built comb in it. So that's something we're going to have to take care of and get it cleaned out. But unfortunately, we don't have time to do that today. So we're going to be slow when we fill it. You go ahead and put that on. He's going to put a pollen patty on. This is the only part about these feeders that I don't like. Sometimes they clog up. And it takes a little while to fill them up. But I like them better than buckets. I hadn't had good luck with buckets. Greg Burns at Nature's Innards Farm, he's got a good bucket set up that he used tent plugs and some real small holes in them. That we're going to try that. I'm gonna contact him, see if I can get some of those plugs and give buckets another shot, because it would be a whole lot easier than opening these colonies. Another thing I would like to do is replace that bottom feeder, or actually leave that bottom feeder so all my boxes have a feeder where I can just lift the lid and fill up this medium with a feeder, and it'd save a lot of work. But we don't have the feeders at this point. If you can save yourself some work in the bee yard, it's well worth it. It's worth the cost expense to go back through and buy feeders for all these mediums. Since that's the way we're going to start running our colonies, is to deepen a medium. It's well worth it. It'll save time and energy, and time is money. Okay guys, we're continuing to feed our yards, and I wanted to show you this one because it's a different configuration. A lot of you might not have seen what's going on with this. Basically all it is a nuke we started. It's a split we made a couple of weeks ago over a double string board. It's got its own feeder, and we're going to give it some pollen supplement. We're also going to give the mother colony below it some feed. So just wanted to kind of show you that, just in case you've never seen a hive configuration like this. They work pretty good. I'm just going to mash this apis guard up here a little bit more. Let the bees continue to work it good. Just like that. I'm going to take this box off. We're going to feed them and give them some pollen supplement. And on these, you can really tell that we got to get these feeders out and go through them and really give them a good cleaning. It's taking a lot of time to do this, and the more you're in a colony, the more you disturb it and set them back. Normally, I mean, this thing pumps a lot of syrup, but it just takes a while for it to seep down into the feeder the way we want to. But I can take a minute and talk to you about why we feed. Keep in mind, it's better to get the feed on the bees before they need it. What I'm trying to say is, don't let them be starving and then start feeding them. Obviously feed them if they're starving, but what I'm trying to get at is, once they start declining and declining basically, it's hard to get them started back and built up for the winter. it's better to stay proactive and keep the feed on them as they need it. And keep in mind, this is real thin syrup. They're going to use this syrup. They're going to use it. They're not really going to store it. They're going to use it to feed and to raise baby bees on. So get the feed on them before it's an emergency, and you'll do a lot better. If you look right here, they're already eating the pollen supplement. I mean, they're tearing it up. So it's a good thing to use. Just be cautious with the hive beetles, but it's definitely doable. Okay guys, so we got the bottom section fed, and now we're going to work on this top section. As you can see, they're small. It's just a small split. They're over a double screen board. And what I want to do is I want to look down in here and see how many seams of bees I got, and I want to move them as close to this feeder as I possibly can. And they're pretty good where they're at. I just want them to be able to access this feed.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. And see, that piece is a little big in my opinion for this colony. So we're just gonna see a little about that right there. We're gonna close it up.